Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another cozy book chat. I have been reading a lot the past 2 weeks, so I have lots of fun books to talk to you about, things that I finished and things that I am currently in the process of reading. We've been having some early fall weather here. The leaves are starting to change and it is getting cooler and rainier, and it has just made for some extra lovely reading time, and I've been reading a lot of really good books too, very atmospheric fall kinds of things, which has just been perfect and absolutely lovely. So without further ado, let's get into the books. I'm going to start with the 2 ebooks that I finished recently. The first is Sarah Morris Remembers by D.E. Stevenson. I talked about this last time I was in the process of reading it, and I finished it. I absolutely loved this book so much. I loved Sarah's character. She is such a strong character. She has a lot of ambition and goals, but at the same time, she doesn't really set that aside for her family. She's still very focused on caring for her family and caring about other people, which I found so lovely. And she just has such a wonderful outlook on things. I really loved this story. The second half of it takes place during World War II, and so that was something interesting. I didn't know that going into the book, but I enjoyed getting to follow Sarah when she was in London and kind of during those war years. It was an absolutely lovely book, and made me so excited because my first D.E. Stevenson that I read I liked, but I didn't love it, and this one I absolutely loved. So I'm really excited to read more by her. And I have Sarah's Cottage. I have the physical book of that, which is the second book. It follows Sarah Morris Remembers. And so I am planning on picking that up very soon because I just am in such a mood for D.E. Stevenson. So that was an absolute win. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It was beautiful. The next ebook I read was The English Masterpiece by Katherine Reay. I talked about this one also last time as a possible read for Framed in September, and I blew through it. It was a very quick, easy kind of read, which I was expecting because that's what the Berlin Letters was like for me. Very gripping. I will say the beginning was kind of slow. It took me a little while to really get into it, but then once the kind of mystery action part of the story took hold, I was blowing through the pages. I just could not put it down. I did enjoy it less than the Berlin Letters, and I don't know if that's because I physically read this book. Maybe her books would work better for me on audio because of kind of the fast-paced nature to the stories. I just found that when I was physically reading it, I noticed maybe more the language, and I didn't find the writing to be that beautiful or that spectacular, and sometimes the dialogue was a little bit cringy, maybe, in my opinion. There were lots of like art references, and the character would kind of describe everything in artistic vocabulary. Makes sense, she's an artist, but I felt it was maybe like a little overdone and a little bit over the top, and I didn't really love that. But the story was super engaging and I couldn't put it down, so I did enjoy that one as well. And I liked being in a museum and kind of in the art world. From what I understand, this is totally fiction. I don't think it's based on any sort of reality, but basically our main character works as an assistant in this art gallery, and at the opening of a Picasso exhibit, she claims that one of the paintings is fake. And so it sets off all of this investigation. She ends up kind of getting framed for it as the forger. And it was interesting. I feel like you learned a lot about art forgery and that kind of world, which was really fascinating to think about, you know, all of the skill and talent that goes into creating a forgery. It kind of raises the question of like, what is valued in art? What are you paying for? It was interesting. I liked that aspect of it. But I will say I did enjoy the Berlin Letters a bit more than this one. That would be a good time to talk about my other Framed in September read, and that is Slow Down, Bring Calm to a Busy World with 50 Nature Stories. This is by Rachel Williams and illustrated by Freya Harris. Again, this is one I talked about as one of the picture books I was hoping to read this month for Framed in September. And it was absolutely lovely. I showed some of the pictures that are just gorgeous, gorgeous illustrations. I loved especially all of the wintry ones and fall illustrations. I think those were my favorite. There were lots of kind of autumnal looking ones. Here's another one with mushrooms, mushrooms in a forest. But yeah, this was just such a lovely book to flip through. I loved getting to learn a little bit more in kind of these bite-sized, you know, 2-page spreads about a different topic. And yeah, it was just a really, really enjoyable book. I think this is perfect for kids and adults, just because the illustrations are so, so gorgeous. It's a book for anyone, I think. In terms of the things I finished, I have 2 physical books. The first is The Vanderbeekers and the Hidden Garden by Karina and Glaser. Another one that I talked about. I think I'd started it previously in the last video. I blew through this book again. It was so sweet. The Vanderbeeker children are so lovely. The tight-knit family dynamic in this book, and also the relationships they have with their neighbors, their friends, the people in their community is so lovely as well. I love that you get both of those aspects, because sometimes in books, in middle grade books, you get one of those, and I loved that you just kind of get all of it. It just makes it so wholesome, so cozy, so heartwarming. In this book, we are following the kids who are creating a community garden for their neighbor who has suffered a stroke. And they are working super hard in the garden, trying to figure things out, even though they don't really know what they're doing. And they are bringing people together, and it's just absolutely, absolutely lovely. I will say, the cover makes me think this takes place in fall. I mean, like, the leaves are changing. It looks very autumnal. But really, the book takes place during the summer, and it's not until the epilogue that we are in October, I think, is when the epilogue takes place. But otherwise, the whole book is set during the summertime, so I don't really get the cover. I feel like the cover is a little bit misleading for this book, but that's okay. I still loved it so much. And because we were having dark, rainy, cold, stormy kind of weather, I thought this is perfect for a mystery, and so I picked up Agatha Christie's Peril at End House. I have a number of Agatha Christie books, physical books, that I would like to get through, and it's been a really long time since I read a Christie, so I was very happy to pick this up. And I absolutely adored this. This was so, so much fun. We have Poirot and Hastings, and Poirot has kind of sworn off investigation. He's retired, but then he comes across this woman who has had multiple near-death misses, kind of multiple accidents that could have been fatal. And Peril is suspicious. He doesn't think they're necessarily accidents, and so he's trying to figure out what is going wrong before it is too late for this woman. And this kept me at the edge of my toes. I did not see the twist coming, although I never see the twist coming, so that's not a big surprise. And I loved the kind of creepy house vibes to this book as well. Very fall, autumnal, perfect for this time of season. All right, that is it in terms of what I've finished. I have 3 things that I'm currently making my way through. We'll start with maybe what I'm closest to finishing, what I've made the most progress in. And that is an audiobook, Excellent Women by Barbara Pym. I think I'm close to 80% of the way through this, so I'm going to finish this up pretty quickly. And I am loving this book so far. It is my first Barbara Pym, and it will not be my last. Story is very quiet, very just focused on everyday life, and I love those kinds of stories so much. We're following Mildred, who is in her 30s. She's unmarried. She works a part-time job, and she's very, very involved in her church. She is good friends with Father Mallory and his sister. She goes over there and spends a lot of time with them. She knows them really well. So those are kind of the main characters, and then we also have a new neighbor who's moved in downstairs, a couple who the woman is an anthropologist and the man has just come back from Italy. He was in the military. And they are very eccentric and very much not like Mildred, although she does form a friendship with them as well and gets to know them. And so we have kind of all of these different characters and these different things going on in their lives. We're following Mildred as she's kind of like navigating her life, and it's just really, really lovely. She has some, it's told from Mildred's point of view, and you get some really kind of funny and interesting observations from her about the way people act. And I found myself just like laughing and nodding my head in agreement with her. I am really enjoying listening to this audiobook, and I'm so excited to have discovered another author who's written quite a lot, and I'm excited to read more from her. I am reading Autumn by the Sea by Melissa Tagg, I believe it is. This is the first book in a trilogy, and it is very autumnal. It is set in Maine on a blueberry farm, and we are following Sydney. We're following Sydney, who has gone to Maine from Chicago to try to see if this woman is her grandmother. The grandmother kind of sent for her, sent a PI after her and brought her to Maine, and wants to know if they are related because her daughter died in a car accident a long, long time ago, and the girl was a baby and disappeared basically, and the grandmother has never seen her granddaughter since then, and so she has been trying to track her down all of these years. There are a lot of other characters, children of this woman, who are living in this house in Maine as well, and it is very cozy, very autumnally. There are points that I feel are kind of a bit slower, and I'm not super invested in the story. I'm a little over halfway through at this point, and I'm enjoying it, but I'm not loving it. And I think part of that is because I find maybe the main character, Sydney, to be, I don't always understand maybe how she's acting. She's kind of hesitant at first to get to know these people and to get her hopes up about finding her family. But then very quickly she kind of throws herself all in and is very invested in their lives, and is kind of acting as though she is, you know, related to them and is part of the family. And it just seems kind of bizarre to me how we went from one to the other so quickly. But I am enjoying the setting, and I'm going to keep reading it. So there's that one. It's the best for last. And I started The Heir of Redclyffe by Charlotte Mary Yonge. I just could not wait till October. I was too excited to read this. And I have a lot of books that I want to read for Victober. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a head start on this one because I know it's one that I absolutely want to tick off. And I want to have the time to just really enjoy this book and not feel like I'm rushing through it so that I can read all of these other things also. So I started it early. I am 222 pages into it and I am loving it so far. Yes, it is slow moving. Yes, it is, you know, there's not a lot of action going on, but I love that. I love the characters. I love how Charlotte Mary Yonge writes and describes people is just so interesting. And our main character, Guy, wonderful character. He is so incredible, and I love watching him navigate and try to come out of these various challenges that he's presented with. I adore this book so much. And I've heard the second half gets even better, so I'm pretty excited. There was, I'm not tabbing a whole lot because my daughter just like takes the tabs out of my books. So I am not worrying too much about that, but there was this one scene that I read last night that was so moving, where Guy is really battling with some anger, some kind of generational family anger that gets passed down. Every man in the family has this kind of rage that they are dealing with. And someone has wronged him, and he's been betrayed, and he is just really struggling with that on his own. And I'll read you just part of this because her writing is exquisite, and I was amazed. It was horror at such wickedness that first checked him and brought him back to the combat. His was not a temper that was satisfied with half measures. He locked his hands more rigidly together, vowing to compel himself, ere he left the spot, to forgive his enemy. Forgive him candidly, forgive him, so as never again to say, I forgive him. He did not try to think, for reflection only lashed up his sense of the wrong, but as if there was power in the words alone, he forced his lips to repeat, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them that trespass against us. Coldly and hardly were they spoken at first. Again he pronounced them, again. Each time the tone was softer, each time they came more from the heart. At last the remembrance of greater wrongs and worse revilings came upon him. His eyes filled with tears, the most subduing and healing of all thoughts. That of the great example became present to him. The foe was driven back. Still he kept his hands over his face. The tempter was not yet defeated without hope. It was not enough to give up his first intention, no great sacrifice as he perceived, now that he had time to think how Philip would be certain to treat a challenge. It was not enough to wish no ill to his cousin, to intend no evil measure. He must pardon from the bottom of his heart, regard him candidly, and not magnify his injuries. It continues, but it gets a little bit more specific about what's going on, so I don't want to read too much and give anything away. But her writing is just so gorgeous. I loved the way she explored Guy just really struggling in this moment of how to live out his faith when you've been wronged, when someone has betrayed you, betrayed your trust, and and how hard it is to forgive. He's really struggling with that, how hard it is to forgive and try to do the right thing. He wants to do the right thing, but it's just so tempting to be mad and to stay angry and to hold a grudge and let that fester. And he chooses not to, and it's just so beautiful, him repeating this prayer over and over again, kind of until he calms down, until he realizes, that it's not worth it. It's not worth being upset about. And I find it so beautiful the way Charlotte Mary Yonge tackles religion in her books. It's not preachy. It's not kind of these far-flung circumstances that people are having to navigate. It's very real everyday life. Everyone deals with people they don't like or don't get along with. Everyone has to, hear comments that anger them and frustrate them and feel as though they've been betrayed. These are very common human experiences, and that's what she's writing about. She's writing about characters who are navigating these very ordinary, everyday experiences, and she does it so beautifully, and she illustrates kind of how you can go about that so well. So I'm loving this book so much, and I am going to go read it after I finish filming this video because I adore it, and Charlotte Mary Yonge is, I'm sure, going to become a favorite author for me, so I'm very excited about that. Alright, I think that is it for this video. My plans for the upcoming week will be to finish kind of all the things I have in progress. I might pick up Sarah's Cottage, because I do want to get to that T.E. Stevenson. And I also kind of want to read through the Little House books this fall, / early winter, the goal being to finish them before the baby comes, which may or may not be reasonable. We will see. But those are kind of some things that I'm milling around in my head thinking about wanting to tackle. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you're currently reading, if you've been reading any excellent books. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!